Hey stoners, DJ Pips here. I've taken a break from my guide videos and have been playing with a friend of mine. The link to his guide is in the description below. While mine is a free-to-play, his guide gets into special combos and techniques for advanced players. However, we came up with a few fun ways to play the game differently. Check it out. The first game we came up with is called Hearth Commander. In Hearth Commander, you can only have one of each card instead of two. And you must have an equal amount of legendaries to a limit of 5. If your opponent does not have 5 legendaries, then unfortunately you cannot have 5 legendaries. It must be an equal amount. They do not have to be the same legendary, but you can have up to 5. Build your decks and go at it. The second game we came up with is called Hearth Draft. You and your opponent choose a class to start with. You choose who is going to pick first. For instance, I'm going to be rogue. If either class has a 0 cost card, start with 0. If not, start with 1. If either player has a 0 cost card and the other does not, then unfortunately that player must choose Wisp. Once a card has been chosen, it cannot be picked again by the opponent. You can choose either 1 or 2 of the card, but the opponent cannot choose if it is in your deck. Whoever picks the 0 mana cost card first, then picks second for turn 1. So let's say I choose Backstab for turn 0. My opponent chooses Deadly Poison for turn 1. Then I have to choose Sinister Strike or another 1 cost card for turn 1. On turn 2, I pick first again. So alternate picks for every mana cost all the way up to 8 mana. If a legendary card is chosen, for instance, if he decided he wanted to choose Edwin Van Cleef, I can match his choice for the legendary. If you choose to match a choice for the legendary, then you pick it and you resume the process where you left off. If you choose not to pick it, you can choose any card for that same cost and then continue the process where you left off. The process continues until someone is full. If someone picks all the cards for their deck and finishes the process, the other person continues to do the process until he maxes out. When you get to 8+ mana, you can only choose one card for 8+. For instance, I have Ragnaros the Firelord, Mountain Giant, and Molten Giant. I can choose one or the other, but not all of them, even though they have different mana costs. And once again, when I choose a card, my opponent cannot choose it. Unless it is a legendary, then it can be matched. When my opponent does finish his cards, however, I can go back and choose any amount of 0 cost cards I want for my deck. However, I can no longer choose legendaries once he has finished. With that, you finish the process. And then battle it out. Have fun, guys. The third game we came up with is called Blind Pick. You choose your class for your opponent. You can choose your own class, however, my friend and I, for the sake of having fun, chose each other's class. So for instance, he chose me to play Druid. When you go to make a deck, you press on Suggest a Card. You tell your opponent your 3 choices. For instance, I have Claw, Bite, and Starfire. He then chooses the card for you. So for instance, he would say Bite. You continue to repeat this process until you have a full deck. However, you do have 3 override. So for instance, if I have Innervate, Druid of the Claw, and Wrath, and he chooses for me to have Wrath, I can override him and say I want Druid of the Claw. However, I can only do this 3 times. So for instance, he said Wild Growth, I say Swipe. He says Moonfire, I say Power of the Wild. I can no longer override any more choices, and I am stuck with everything he tells me to put into my deck. When you have a full deck, you duel it out, and the best of 3 wins. The last game we came up with is something I like to call Pure Skill. You can probably guess this game by the name. That's right, it's all random. The style comes with 3 pre-built decks. Use as many cards as you have for your deck, and then, if you have any empty spaces, fill them with an automatic build. So for instance, with this deck, I actually have 3 cards I am missing. I would have the deck, and then I would click Done. You're 3 cards short of a full deck. Do you want to finish automatically? Yes. You have to do that every time you play a new match. The best of 3 wins, And this is normally how we play the decks. First off, we have Pure Skill Healer deck, Healer Priest. It comes with 2 Mind Visions, 2 Young Priestess, 2 Knife Jugglers, 2 Light Wells, 2 Mad Bombers, 2 Master Swordsmith, 2 Thought Still, 2 Cold Light Oracles, 2 Death Lords, 2 Demolishers, 2 Mind Control Techs, 2 Mind Games, 1 Stampeding Kodo, 1 Gelbin Mechatort, and 1 Ragnaros the Fire Lord. The other 3 cards are Tinkmaster Overspark, Elite Tauren Chieftain, and Sylvanas Windrunner. The other 2 decks are versus each other, and you and your opponent can choose one or the other. While this one is all healer and focused on survival and milling out yourself and having fun with healing, these 2 are all direct damage, mostly, and all about quick plays and having the better damage output. The Pure Skill Hunter is 2 Web Spinners, 2 Young Priestesses, 2 Misdirection, 2 Knife Jugglers, 2 Mad Bombers, 2 Master Swordsmith, 1 Animal Companion, 1 Deadly Shot, 2 Cold Light Oracles, 2 Death Lords, 2 Demolishers, 2 Mind Control Techs, 2 Multi-Shots, 2 Stampeding Kodo, Ragnaros the Fire Lord, Tinkmaster Overspark, Elite Tauren Chieftain, and Sylvanas Windrunner. The Pure Shadow Skill deck is the same as the Pure Skill Healer Priest, but instead of having Light Wells, you now have Shadow form. Alright guys, this is DJ Pips showing you those different ways to play Hearthstone. Hope you guys have fun. Like or subscribe for my next guide videos. And until then, hope you guys have a blast. We'll see you next time.